friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a card using the new Lawn Fawn Crazy Antics stamp set. So I've stamped my images out on Neenah Solar White cardstock with Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink, and I'll be coloring with my Copic markers. I'm going to start with my mice, and for them I'm using E50, E51, E53, and E55. So I put the shadow down the first mouse with the E55, and I'm doing kind of a central light source, so it's going down his back so that the highlight will be on his face. I blended that out with the E53 and also did add a little bit more shadow under his neck so there would be a bit more definition there. And then I'm going to finish him mostly with that E51. I saved a little bit of space for the E50 on his belly and his little muzzle. And then I'm also going to quickly go over him with a second layer just to really intensify that marker color and just beef up that saturation and contrast. So I'm just quickly going over the same colors that I already laid down, but you can already see what a difference that makes. I really enjoy how bright and vibrant the colors get. So then I'm going to move on to my second little guy, and I'm going to color him exactly the same, except I'm going to put my light source on the opposite side. So they're each going to be sitting on the left and right of the picnic blanket, kind of in the center of the card. So if you can imagine that the sun is kind of right overhead in between them, as if it was maybe noon, since this is a picnic scene. So their shadows are going to be behind them on the backs of their bodies, and the light would be on their faces. I took away the E55, and I'm going to use the remaining 3 markers to do the bread of my little sub sandwich. So I just used the E53 first and also accentuated those lines, and then blended out with the E51 and finished with the E50. And then for the picnic basket, I took away the lighter shades, added back in the E55, and also added in the E57. So it would just be a bit more of a darker shade, and everything is still going to match really nicely, but there will be some strong contrast. So I put these shadows on both sides of the basket, and then I'm also going to accentuate those little lines that are drawn. I'm going to do the same on the lip of the basket, and then for the handles I'm going to put the shadow down toward the bottom. And then I'm going to blend toward the center with that E55, really making sure to soften up that E57 since there is a bit of difference there, so that I get a nice transition. And I can already see that I am going to need a double layer on this as well. I'll finish this off with the E53, and then I'm going to do the second layer off camera, just like I did with the second mouse, just so it saves time. I thought I would show you on that first mouse so you can see the difference, and then for the rest of the video I'll skip over that, but I did color each of these images with a double layer. The next combo that I'll use is R20, R22, and R24. I'm going to first give the mice some rosy cheeks with the R20 and also add some shading to the insides of their ears. And then I'm going to color in the slice of watermelon, starting with the R24 down towards the rind. And then I'll blend towards the tip with the R22 and finish with the R20. Then I'll take away the R20 and add in the R29. And I'm going to use these 3 shades to color in the picnic blanket. So I'm starting on the left hand side with my shadow until I hit the center of the blanket, and then I'll add a shadow from both sides and then switch on the right hand side to putting the shadow there instead, just to kind of keep with that center light source. And then I'm going to blend towards the centers of each of those squares with the R24, and I'll finish them with the R22, And you can see I just kind of skipped over every other one to kind of create that traditional picnic blanket pattern. And then I'll leave the other squares white, and I will come in and add a little bit of shading to them in just a minute. I really love how these cute little mice keep reappearing in Lawn Fawn stamp sets. It makes it so fun and versatile because you really could mix and match any of the mice from the other sets and create some fun scenes. So I hope we get to see lots more from them. So now I'm going to add that shading in for the white squares. I'm just using the W1, just the one shade, and I'm going to color just the same way that I did the red squares as far as the light source. And then I also use that to color in the little screws for the basket handle. I'm moving on to my green combo, and I'm using YG11, YG13, and YG17 to color both the watermelon rind and also the lettuce on the sandwich. So I just use the YG17 as my darkest, and then the YG13 as my mid-tone, and the YG17 as my lightest. And then for the watermelon, I went back and added a little bit more of those dark stripes. And then for the meat, I tried to make it look like ham, so I used E93 and E95 for that. The yellow combo I'm using is Y13, Y15, and Y17, and I'm going to color in the cheese and then also the label on the bag of chips. So I just use the Y17 first and then the Y15 and finish with the Y13. For my blue combo, I'm using B21, B23, and B26. So I'm going to come in from both the left and right with that B26 and put a shadow down the edges of the package. It's also going to help it look a little bit more rounded in appearance. And then I'm going to come in a little bit further with that B23, and then I'll fill in that center white space with the B21. And then I'm also going to use this combo to color in part of the soda can. I'm going to do the stripe in the center, and I'm just going to color it exactly the same way that I did with the chip bag. I just gave it a little bit more of a highlight in the center to make it look really nice and shiny. Then for the red parts, I'm going to go back to my R24 and R29 and then also add in the R39 so it just gets really nice and intense, which I think would fit, like a soda can with those bright colors. And I'm going to leave that wider highlight once again so that it matches up with the blue part. And then for the top, I'll use C1 and C3. And then I will trim all of these images out with their matching dies. For my background, I've cut down a piece of Hello Sunshine Remix pattern paper, and I'm using this sunburst print, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment on that using jet black ink, which is the same ink that I used to stamp my images. So I'm using the Life's a Picnic with You phrase, and then I'm going to take the solid word picnic from that stamp set and offset that just a little bit and stamp that down in lobster ink, and I really like how that looks. And then I will grab my card base. I'm going to pop that in my MISTI as well so that I can stamp on the inside. I'm using Merman ink to stamp two of the larger ants from the stamp set, along with the slice of watermelon and the sentiment that says, "I love your crazy antics," which I think can go for a variety of occasions. I've trimmed down another piece of that pattern paper with the Lawn Fawn outside in stitch rectangle stackables, and then I've also die cut a piece of white cardstock. This is just Georgia Pacific. I'm going to adhere them together with some liquid glue so that it makes it a little bit more stable, and then I'm going to die cut a window out of the center using the stitched circle stackables. So now that I've got all of my elements, I can start to build this card. So I'm going to take that window portion and I'm going to use that to line up the sunburst background. on the card. So I'm just going to get that sentiment framed in that window just how I want it. And then I'm going to adhere that down to the card base and then lift off the frame once again. And then it was just a little bit long, so I did take a pair of scissors off screen and just trim down those edges. But before I did that, I also did the same technique for a piece of noble fir cardstock that I die cut with the Lawn Fawn grassy border. And again, just used that frame to line everything up and get it just where I wanted it. So there you can see my rough cuts on the side, but it doesn't matter because it's all going to be hidden behind the frame, which I have added some foam tape to the back of, and then I'm going to pop that into place right over top so it creates a little bit more dimension. And then I can begin to adhere my images. So I'm going to be using a combination of liquid glue and foam tape. So I've added a little piece of foam tape in the center of this picnic blanket so that I can have it overlapping the very bottom edge of that circle. And that just pulls that scene outward from that recessed area toward the viewer, which I think is really fun. Next, I added the picnic basket and I put that back in that recessed area, tucked a tiny bit under the edge of the frame to really create that depth. And then I put the watermelon slice in the center of the picnic blanket and then added a mouse on either side. Then I'll take the submarine sandwich and I'm going to add that over on the right. And I just tilted it a little bit to give it a little bit more whimsy. And then I'll add the bag of chips over on the left. The soda can I'm going to also add back in the recessed area sitting in the grass behind that watermelon slice. And then I've got 3 of these tiny little ants, which I thought were so cute and the perfect size in comparison to these little mice. So I added 1 over on the left and 1 on the right. And then the third little one I thought would look fun just sitting on top of that soda can, kind of maybe motioning to his friends off scene to come on, you know, the eating's good here. So I just felt like something was missing. It needed another pop of color down toward the bottom of the card. So I took a thin strip of rainbow striped paper from that same Hello Sunshine remix paper pad and die cut that with the same die so it would match with the blue gingham print and adhere that down at the bottom. And that is going to complete my card for today. So thank you guys so much for watching. I thought this picnic scene was super fun and I had such a blast playing with these adorable little mice characters once again. So if you enjoy them too, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. I post new videos every Monday and Friday, and if you can't wait that long, here are 2 extra videos I thought might also interest you. You can click on either one of those to check them out. I hope you all have an absolutely amazing day. Bye-bye.